tonight, 7:23. Motion by Mr. Brisman, second by Mr. Tufo. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to reopen the regular meeting at 7:23 p.m. Motion by Mrs. Caravaggio, second by Mr. Tufo. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. CSA report.
So we have two things that we're going to address tonight. The first being some of the public comments from the last meeting. So just to kind of rehash some of the statements that were made and make sure that there's some context to this, I think it's important to make sure that we've kind of allowed people to come up here and say things regardless of whether or not they were true without really responding. So the first speaker was Tony Mastroni, who came in and asked for the Little League to be able to be approved. He was able to get a volunteer, and they had 2 practices. My understanding is that it went well and that there were no issues. So that was a success. The next speaker was Caitlin Boris. Caitlin Boris made some comments about special education. Specifically, one of her comments was that special education students are a distraction to other students. Special education students are to be educated in the least restrictive environment, and I think that her comments are offensive and discriminatory.
She never said that. Nope.
The next comments by Kathy Gengska. She alleged that a parent denied her access to the building, but that was not true.
Yes, it was true.
She was not approved as a parent chaperone to be able to come to that class party. So that was not actually accurate as far as what had happened. I did speak with her, and the next time she was in the building, she wanted an exception for a dismissal procedure. And we continue to talk about the fact that this is something that is for student safety, that things are set up a certain way for that. And so again, that was denied.
All he does is lie.
Upon that denial, she said that she was concerned about the coffee cart and why that was allowed to be provided by the PTA. And so said that that was a disruption to the educational process, because I had said that having people coming and going was a disruption to the educational process. So we polled the staff. Nobody agrees. None of the staff members felt that this is an educational disruption. But I think it does beg the question as to why and what the actual issue is. And I think that's more of the enlightening piece. What is your issue with the PTA? So we have a statement from the PTA Audit Committee from September 2019, and I'm going to read it. An incident occurred during the spring book fair in April whereby the executive board needed to evaluate the book fair funds at a closer level. Due to this incident, the audit committee then reviewed other fundraisers on which Kathy Gengska served as chairperson. Unfortunately, other discrepancies in those fundraisers came to light.
Here is where Capone
The audit
starts
committee
to
was
slander.
unable to account for certain funds, and to this date, the money is still unaccounted for. The audit committee brought this to Kathy Gengska while she was still treasurer. She was given the opportunity to explain where the funds had gone. Without being able to justify the missing funds, the executive committee made the executive decision to take the books and financial documents from her at that time. The executive committee served as alternate treasurer until the newly elected treasurer could start in July. The PTA election was conducted in accord with PTA guidelines, and Palomino was elected into the treasurer's position.
Shut up.
Unfortunately, due to Palomino's resignation as treasurer, the executive committee met pursuant to the bylaws and appointed Danielle Conklin to the treasurer's position. due to the findings of the audit committee, the executive committee could not in good conscience appoint Kathy to the position. Out of respect for all people involved, if you have any further questions, please speak to us after the meeting. We'll be happy to speak to you openly to the best of our ability without disparaging anyone's character. So, these are the kind of issues that come up where, people come forward to have these kinds of complaints. And there's typically a backstory as to why it is that these things are occurring. So it's not a question, right, of if money was missing, just simply how much. And I think that's relevant when you're coming and making complaints about some of these things that are occurring.
So false.
The next speaker was Nick DeLacio. There were two comments that I thought was relevant to highlight. The first was he was talking about Googling things and what comes up, and asked, why is our superintendent depressed so much when good things are happening at the school?
Oh.
So there are a lot of good things happening at our school. We have a lot of new programs, we have a lot of things that are positive for our students. So I thought that that was relevant based on the article from today. And I guess my response to why do we appear in the paper is because you have an unethical reporter who researches stories or data sources.
Boo.
You can boo, but let's actually give some evidence on this, right?
We got plenty of it.
If somebody has their phone out, go ahead and Google Jamie Lamadio, disorderly conduct.
It's Lamelado.
Okay, perfect.
What does that have
Okay.
to do with? Google Capone. You'll get a lot there.
Okay. 5-2-15, disorderly conduct. 12-23-14, disorderly conduct. This is my favorite one. 3-1-14, cows in the road, disorderly conduct at the scene. So when we write a letter to somebody who's disorderly,
FY, all charges dismissed.
okay, is disorderly in the building and continues to exhibit these kinds of behaviors, we went through this. Now, Eric did not give you the entire letter. And again, I think that that's important about why it is and when we ban somebody from school
So
grounds.
false.
Okay, and it's due to the fact that if you have an issue, all right, that comes up and is something that's violating security protocols, that's when that occurs. So, the letter actually read, specifically on Monday, December 9th, you entered Montague Township School without authorization, breaching the dismissal door, screaming and causing alarm of staff and students. Furthermore, when you entered the main foyer, repeatedly yanking on the doors to the foyer, trying to enter the building, screaming profanity, making threats, and again causing alarm of staff and students. Staff and parents, I'm sorry. This is not the first time you've been addressed about your inappropriate conduct at the school. You were previously addressed about your behavior when you were screaming profanity in the lobby on June 21st, 2019. Prior to that, you were addressed on the night of the PTA election on May 3rd, 2019, when you were addressed for screaming profanity in front of children, parents, and community members because you lost the touch.
right? No evidence.
So, now, Eric, we continue to look at this. Did you do your due diligence on the article? Do you know who it is that you're quoting? Or you just take any random statement from somebody, all right, and that's what you print? Did you vet your sources?
This is his way to save his own butt. He's all about vindictive retaliation.
She was also the source for the mold articles, right, which you mentioned again. Mm-hmm. There's a problem with that, right?
There's a lot of molds and OSHA's involved.
There's no evidence of mold.
Oh, there is.
Okay?
You're denying it and saying it's
Sussex
dirt.
County Health Department was here on November 15th.
OSHA's involved.
They were here.
OSHA's involved and you're under some heat. You're in hot water and you know it.
So, John Mannion, right, likes to say that they're a trusted source of news in Sussex County.
Because he'll throw you out, that'll be it. Just calm down.
So, the last article before that was Montague parents fight school district after sons brush with danger.
Another
It
true.
contains numerous outrageous false statements.
All true.
Like
All
all
true,
student
everybody.
matters, the district cannot disclose facts about that student matter publicly due to student confidentiality. That said, mindful of those facts and our district's regular practices, any reasonable reader must question whether the article was researched and sources properly questioned and whether any appropriate due diligence took place. We put students first and make sure that they receive the educational services that
And
they need.
slander parents at the same
So,
time.
again, Eric, did you do your due diligence? What was your due diligence? Did you conduct a review of the student?
He's got your number. No response to any phone calls, no response to
So,
emails.
here we are, and there was a question in reference to how seriously we should take some of these accusations. So
Very one
I took a
against you.
couple of my favorite of the recent ones that we find on Facebook, right? So Capone is trying to shut down the school. Capone is trying to make Montague School a school for children with disabilities only. He feels that we can send our students to Sanduston Township School. He wants to make it a private for-profit school. Send all the gen ed kids to Port or Sanduston. Or he wants to build a big trade high school on the hill in the woods. He wants to take over all of the schools. I mean, how seriously should we be taking those comments?
How seriously should we be taking you?
So, this is something that we can do moving forward to make sure that, again, there's reasonable, rational things that occur. We provide the reasoning behind the actions that we take, and the number of articles that we put forward. We've got a stack like this, okay? And the issue, and it's what I'm going to continue to say, right? Hearsay. You go and you can quote anybody that you want, okay? That is not knowledgeable, that doesn't have any facts, and we can go and do this over and over again, and that's what's been done. So, at this point in time, we can make this, just really kind of consider the source section of this, and we'll revisit this.
Yeah, exactly. Consider the source. We're considering the source. You are the source.
So,
We don't like.
on the next portion, we have 2 recognitions tonight. First is going to be Linda Williford, Teacher of the Year.
Sally didn't bring it. What a joke. That's one of his minions, by the way, everybody that's watching.
So,
Capone gives his minion an award.
Miss Linda Williford has all of the qualities of a model teacher. Every day she brings her smile and positive can-do attitude to work with our children. In her warm, inviting classroom, every child knows they can succeed and knows that their teacher cares about them as a person and about their success. The students flock to Miss Williford due to her bubbly nature, and she inspires them daily through lessons that are active and engaging. She's the first to volunteer, works with the student council, volunteered for soccer, is the vice president of the PTA, and she is most deserving of the recognition for Teacher of the Year. We'd also like to recognize Daniela Starza as the Educational Services Professional of the Year.
Oh, his girlfriend. That's his girlfriend, everybody.
So in a small school, it's critical to have
His
talented
work
staff
wife.
members that can wear multiple hats, adapt quickly, and multitask. Danielle works as the school guidance counselor, 504 coordinator, school social worker, residency officer, truancy officer, anti-bullying specialist, and probably a couple other titles that I've forgotten to add.
He should probably
On any
investigate
given
you for
day,
your
Mrs.
bullying
Starrs is an
tactics.
integral part of helping students prepare for high school, counseling students, case managing, planning, and overseeing the implementations of IEPs and 504s. She conducts student evaluations, checks and confirms for student residency, and addresses truant students. Thank you.
That's not all you got.
That's all I have.
Your SBA report?
Yes. I just want to acknowledge that the next meeting, I'll report about the extensive amount of Oprah requests received because of the time, money, resources, legal fees required by our team to provide all the random requested information. So that will be addressed next week.
Thank you. There was no correspondence received between meetings. I'll entertain a motion, approval of the minutes. Be it resolved that the recommendation of the superintendent, Nottingham Township Board of Education approved the minutes of January 7, 2020. I have a motion, please. Motion by Mr. Tupper, second by Ms. Christman. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Yes. Public session. Public comment is invited on all matters pertaining to the school district. All participants shall be permitted 3 minutes to speak and shall state their name, place of residence, and group affiliation if appropriate. Board meetings are a meeting of the board conducted in public, not a meeting of the public conducted in the presence of the board. The board uses the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but please be aware that not all issues brought to the board meeting will be resolved after the board will be resolved this evening. Rather,
This is when we need to get his
the board will, in
face.
appropriate cases, delegate the authority to investigate the matter to the superintendent or his designee. Please let the record reflect that the Board of Education does not endorse your comments, nor will the Board of Education be held liable for the comments you make about a staff member or other person, which the staff member or other person may consider defamatory and/or libel, as that individual retains all rights to pursue any legal remedies against you. Entertain a motion to open public comment at 7:40 p.m. Motion by Mr. Tuford, second by Mrs. Karen Ritchie. Sorry, that's Mr. Ryder. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
I just wanted to add a correction because I have had correspondence with Mr. Plotsky. Well, I have.
Are you serious?
Just yell at teacher Bell.
That was set up,
Kill switch.
right?
Yeah, really. I don't want to hear anything you have to say.
Speak up.
And just before you start,
Yeah.
professional.
Sorry, they cut the mic out. Back one.
Yeah.
Email about the traditional parking lot, as well as an inquiry that we.
Right, okay.
I apologize for not.
No, that's okay. Okay, Stephanie Guida, 105 Autumn Drive. On January 7, in front of this Board of Education and at least 40 taxpayers, parents, and grandparents, Mr. Capone was asked why he refused to reply to emails in September and November from the music department at High Point, and why the children of Montague School District were denied the opportunity to participate in the High Point District-wide music event and art show this year, as they have in past years. Your response was, we received many invitations from districts. This was a bold-faced lie. In fact, Kittatinny confirmed they have not extended any invitations to Montague. Sussex Tech has not found any invitations to Montague for events yet, but are still searching their records for me. This retaliation did not hurt High Point. The only ones hurt by this were the children.
Truth.
Children whose artwork didn't get to be displayed and admired. Children who missed out on a day of rehearsal with peers from neighboring towns. Children who missed out on an opportunity to sing and play their little hearts out on a real stage to a huge crowd of family and friends. On January 13th, I emailed both Mr. Capone and Mr. Plotsky inquiring when the Montague children will be celebrated in their local newspaper for their honor roll and high honor roll achievements. I have yet to receive a response. These achievements have not yet been honored. In fact, the last time the hard work of our children was recognized in the New Jersey Herald, like their peers in this county, was third marking period in June 2019. Your personal vendettas are impacting our children. Is this the Montague difference?
you're not gonna get an answer. Woo! Good for you.
John Manning, Chubby Lane. Mr. Capone and Mr. Plotski, numerous times, the Herald has had to put in the paper that even though they've tried to contact you for verification on a story or your input on a story, you never return the call. What is the story with that? Should you not return, if you have an issue with a reporter's story, return the call to the reporter, discuss it with the reporter? And why can we not discuss these issues in the same night that we bring it up? Why do we have to wait till the next meeting to do so?
He's got to think of his lies first.
You are here to be a reflection of the community. Do you not feel yet, Mr. Capone, that you are not living up to that? When you have this many people show up, and this many people have issues with you, there's something wrong. There's something
Common
wrong, Mr.
denominator.
Capone. You need to step back, not have a narcissistic attitude, look yourself in the mirror and see what you can do to correct it.
Yes.
Because yes, I do trust the Herald more than I trust you. I give you
Amen.
the benefit of the doubt. I told you that from the beginning. You have failed me. Also from this board, we've heard that people have been banned from this property because of behavior, coming in the front door, coming in the back door, or whatever. Do you not have that on video? And should one person and one person alone have the ability to ban somebody from the school property?
Truth.
Shouldn't that be something that comes in front of the whole board with
Yes.
evidence
Yes.
as such, if it
Yes.
is in fact true? If you have this video and you say that they acted in an alarming way, you should have that video to show the crowd. But you don't have that video.
And make a
that
police
makes
report.
me doubt, Mr. Capone, that it actually happened that way. Once again, instead of berating them, berating the Herald, berating me, because anything you say to me bounces right off your smirk, makes me just want to laugh back at you.
You guys all
Goes
see that,
nowhere.
right?
Goes nowhere. I would like somebody, a member of this board, to make a motion that before any one person, including the chief school administrator, can ban any member of the public, that it gets heard in front of the board and the appropriate evidence comes out. And now I would like to have a hand for all the taxpayers that have to foot the bill to run this operation and not always in the moral way. Thank you.
Woo! Yeah! Keep smirking.
So, again, John, if you want an answer, so here's your answer.
Well, can I come up? Can I come up?
No.
Why can't? Oh, yes, you're not going to
It's
tell
not
me
a
no.
discussion. You say
You're not going to tell me no. That ain't going to work. I don't like
The response
people.
is this. The response is that you ask questions about things that are happening from a personnel standpoint, okay? And you don't get that information, all right? You don't.
But we elected a
It's
board.
not-
We
that's
didn't
not how
elect-
I-
We
it's
didn't
not-
elect an autocrat. We
That's
elected
not
a
how it
board.
works, all right? You don't get to know what personnel things occur. Find me and we've had this conversation, but you continue to say the same thing over and over
A
again.
parent is not
Tell
personnel.
me,
Nope.
tell me what circumstance, what industry you can go in, where you can go and say, I want to see the personnel records of what happened with this person. And you
Yeah, we pay you.
Hey, what?
It doesn't happen that way.
Let me ask you this,
Just listen.
Mr.
Just listen.
Listen.
We pay your paycheck.
So, here's the problem. You did that, all right, and Eric wrote like 8 articles about what you thought wasn't something of how things should run in school district personnel. But you don't have any information. But he writes articles and quotes you as if you're knowledgeable.
Nothing false.
Okay?
Nothing false.
Yeah, right, but you sit there and make comments, all right? It's not true, okay? You
Show
don't
me
have
what's
any
not
evidence,
true. Show
you
me
don't
what's
have
not
any
true.
facts, and that's the problem.
You don't have a
Sit
video
there
showing the
and
bad
have-
behavior either.
You can sit there and make comments, all right, that not based in fact or any.
Not true. And I told you that, not
Show-
true.
Okay, so what's the evidence you came
What
meeting
evidence
after
do you
meeting about
want,
Mr.
Mr.
Natola?
He's very argumentative.
Present something on Mr. Natola, what do you have?
I heard that you
What do you
hired
have?
somebody without properly vetting them.
You don't know that,
Well, why is the public not allowed to know that?
because
Why
it's
did you not-
personnel, that's what I just said to you, and I don't think you.
We don't have the right to know who's teaching our.
After he's
children.
hired,
We don't have the right to know that. Well, I know one thing. Mr. Capone.
he never does follow
They didn't
procedure.
vet you enough before they hired you.
position.
I'll tell you that much.
That's true.
That's right, yeah. Woo!
That you don't get to know things that happen in personnel. You don't get to know that, all right? Because it's personnel. So
Yes, I do.
You can
Yep.
ask about those things. You can want us to make comments. I would love to be able to show you videos.
Sure.
I would love to, but I can't. I would love to share with you things that have to do with personnel, but I can't. I would love to sit there and show you, student information, all right? Things that are being said that aren't true, that we could prove, but I can't.
How about the
All right.
video? Do you have
We can't.
video of the front door?
We
Do you have
can't.
video of the back door? If
can't.
somebody behaved that way? Do you have video to show us? You
We
don't.
have video.
You don't.
All right.
Then
We have
why
video.
didn't you bring that up?
Because
Because
there is
I wanna hear because.
confidentiality associated with it,
Pause.
all right? Because it's
Oh,
confidential.
it's just
You
always
met
gonna
your
be.
match, Mr. Capone.
It's
Yeah,
not-
you did.
No, you don't listen.
I
all right?
do listen.
And you don't
You
answer correctly.
comprehend, and the fact is, you can't have confidential information.
And you
That's
dance
the way
around the
this works.
question.
And you come meeting after
Keep
meeting
dancing.
saying, I want to know confidential information, and it doesn't work that way. So I expect to see you at the next meeting doing the same exact thing, saying, I want to know confidential information, and the response is going to be the same.
Spoken like
Yes,
a true
sir.
narcissist.
Amen.
Charles Fletcher, 2541. On June 14th, we received an email from Timothy Capone concerning an incident involving our daughter making a false report and false allegations against another student. Apparently, a student was running down the hallway and another stepped in front of him to stop him. Our daughter witnessed this. Upon going to class, a couple of students told the teacher our daughter saw what had happened, and when asked by the teacher, she said, yes, I saw what happened. She didn't make a false report as she was accused of by Mr. Capone. She didn't report anything. She honestly answered the question. She was called into the office to be spoken to about the incident. She was one of 3 students. All 3 were separated and questioned individually. This was all over one student stepping in front of the other, and if there was any
There's
possible
smirks.
contact to the other student or not. There were 4 staff members involved. I'm a retired police officer, and this was a police interrogation. I'm speaking to 3 11-year-old girls over a minor incident. Our daughter said she was extremely intimidated and began to cry. She said she agreed to what one staff member was saying, even though she knew it was different from what had happened. She said if she disagreed with the staff member, she would get in trouble. She said she was scared and just wanted to leave. When she came home, she was very upset and she had difficulty sleeping that night. Over what? As a parent and a taxpayer, I am appalled that 4 staff members were involved in such a minor incident. I would like to think that they have better things to do, like being in the classroom and teaching our children. Isn't that what they're being paid to do? Thank you.
Jamie Lamella, Swift Ridge Road, Montague, New Jersey. Members of the board, our community is slashed and bleeding. Please help us escape from the various leadership that runs the sword. Get rid of Mr. Capone. Bring back the kind, caring, and safe school that we've lost. Please get rid of Capone.
Hello, Kim Hart, Tom Hall Terrace. I want to say congratulations to the Montague Township Teacher of the Year, Linda Williford, and the Montague Township Educational Services Professional of the Year, Danielle Esparza. The award is very well deserved. Also, I am proud of our district, and as you all know, I never hesitate to express it to everyone. Because every day I get to see the staff and the administration commitment, the support and encouragement in all school activities, whatever it may be, from the student body and the relationships between everyone who walks these halls. I am proud to be here at Montague School. Thank you.
I'm just saying that before. Go.
Good evening. Barbara Wolstein from 27 Hemlock Hill. It's been a while since I've been to a board meeting. I have to say it's really a shame what I've seen having it taking place since you came here, Mr. Capone. In fact, I've
Keep an eye on the facial
chronologically
expressions
looked
he
at
makes when people are talking.
your photos that are publicly available on the Herald. I'm glad to see that you're cleaned up tonight, because the last 3 months, you have not appeared so. I'm requesting, there's 5 board members here that did not hire you. I'm requesting that these board members evaluate promptly your position as school superintendent here at this school.
Yes.
I think the first avenue that they need to evaluate is your own board of health policy. Employee health policy number 4112.4-4212.4. The entire policy applies to the erratic behavior that we have seen. We have had numerous confrontations with parents and students. You have violated special education rights beyond any administrative person I have seen in my 20 years here in New Jersey, in schools. The article regarding the student who got loose after a school bus and no attention from the school district is preposterous. Unfortunately, we're paying you $254,000 and change. $254,000
Our
and
tax
change
dollars, people.
for 200 and possibly 23 kids. You have
And it's dropping.
gone after everything that the people in this town cherished, which was this school building right here and everything that was in it. People aren't allowed to come here. They don't feel safe. They don't feel comfortable. And I don't care if it's one family member or if it's 20. You have a room full of people here and a town reflecting in the newspaper on a regular basis and yes, on Facebook. That they are not comfortable with you, Mr. Capone. And 5 board members here did not hire you. You need to do your due diligence, board members. You need to look at this health policy. You need to look at Mr. Capone's physical and emotional and the actions that he's taken in the schools that are affecting our school. It is not proper. I'm gonna leave these here
Let me see them.
next to your business secretary. She can pass them around to you. They're all public pictures that are available on the Herald. Finally, I'd like to make a statement that was a statement that was sent to me by Caitlin Morris, because she's not here. And I find it completely offensive that you would retaliate against someone's public statements at the board meeting. We do not have her statement at that board meeting in front of us. So we're taking your interpretation, and you have not been truthful in many situations. So why are we supposed to believe that what you said before?
Time.
Hold your
Come
spot.
up
You can
and
come
read
back
that
up.
statement after others have an opportunity to be heard, if any.
Thank you.
Otherwise, you can come back.
You can go right there. Go,
Good evening, Kathy Gasko, Clinton Hollow Road, Montague, New Jersey. I simply wanted to step up and accept your invitation. to the
Emotional,
afternoon
try to
meeting.
psych it out.
I have no problem with Mrs. Caramucci and Mr. Underwood attending such meeting, as well as Mr. Plotski as the president. Or actually, the whole board can stay and attend if they like. I really am not worried about that. So I'll gladly accept that invitation to meet with you about the statements that you said about.
Yes, I did say that.
You're not on video. Okay. It's just the board.
Hi, Krista Mikulski, 2 Elm Court. First, I want to congratulate the new board members. There are 3 topics I want to comment on tonight. The first is specific to my daughter and her 4-month experience at Sussex Tech. I chose Tech for a few reasons. One of them is my disdain for Dr. Ripley. Haley integrated well into Tech. She was a varsity football cheerleader, so socially things were going well for her. Early on, I noticed that in classes she traditionally struggled in, like math, she was breezing through. She also made comments to me about some classes, and her work was the same she learned in Montague. There were a few other instances that occurred with administration and my concern with academics that led me to transfer her to High Point. While it was not easy for me to do, I knew in my heart that I needed to get her out of Tech. She entered High Point 3 weeks ago and is behind in math, which required me to get her a tutor. so my gut instinct was correct. While there is a rift between High Point and Montague Elementary, on paper, High Point has a lot to offer and should be fairly represented in the guidance process. In about 3 months, I'll have a more robust assessment of High Point. Until we have data on how Montague kids are performing at Tech, it is not fair to measure one piece of the puzzle. If you cannot measure all schools that we send kids to, don't measure any. Half information is equivalent to biased reporting. Please be more responsible with what is reported. Second topic is the discussion on the send receive deport. I'm sure it's not a surprise to many people in this room that I don't agree with it. I read the feasibility study several times, and while I can sit here for an hour poking holes in the biased document, I will talk about one topic tonight, and that is the travel and safety piece. What stands out to me the most is the concern about the bus ride to High Point. As far as I know, there's never been an accident on the bus ride to High Point, but it's safe for my 15-year-old daughter sitting behind me to get off the bus at Town Hall and walk all the way up Clove Road to Beach Drive, and that's Old Montague Lake. People that live here know how far that is. Everybody knows the accidents that happen on Clove Road, right? So that's responsible to have my daughter walk. I'm going to hold this new board accountable to change that policy. Lastly, I've talked to Tim about the financial burdens the education funding reductions could cause the Montague taxpayers. Specifically, the belief that moving our kids to Port would alleviate the financial burden. I would like to see the financial forecast on the website, inform the public with everything that is being discussed. I will close this by saying that I'm not happy to be back at the podium asking for truth and transparency, but I'm not going to go away. My daughter goes to High Point now, so just like I stood by Montague Elementary, I will integrate myself into the High Point culture, and if necessary, will stand up for what I know to be true about them.
Mr. Capone, you had no problem here right now calling out a member of the ordinance and using as ammunition their potential prior past with any violations of the law that they might have. But at the same time, you're telling me as a taxpayer and a voter that I don't have the right to know about the hires that you do because you claim personnel, client personnel. Who are you? The Constitution affords us the right that if you've paid your dues to societies, whatever the charge is, that you move on with a clean slate. But you're allowed to do that to the crowd, but you cannot be called into question for the immoral hires and the not well enough vetting that you have done yourself. You are not above us, Mr. Capone, no matter how much you think you are.
John, be specific.
I'm not going to be specific, and then you're going to throw
How
a
about you be
slander thing
specific?
or a libel thing
You
at
can't
me.
be. That's the problem. The problem is that you actually.
Do I have the floor right now? Do I have the, and all those articles mean more to me than what you mean. Who are you, Mr. Capone, to call out a member of this crowd right now and bring up their past, whatever it might be? But yet, if we ask about the past, about hires that you do, then we have no place to do that.
True.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
No kidding.
Get out of the way, please. Caleb, I'm busy. You need to go sit down and play your phone.
Are you guys coming to speak? You haven't spoken yet, so I have to let you go.
Well, actually, Mr. Manning went second. You got over
I waited. I did wait.
I know.
Can you please go sit down? Go sit down. I'm busy.
With Caitlin Boris. She said that she would give this opening statement. With all the stress many families are going through these
True.
days, whether it's about finances, jobs, health, weary parents should feel 100% assured that their children are safe, are feeling comfortable, and are not being bullied, especially by administrators, and are happy going to school. No child or parent should be worrying about mold, which can severely impact a child's health, or be worried about revenge from a superintendent if their parents make a complaint. We still live in a free society, and this community will not accept a dictatorship at this school. I have to say that I second her comments.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely imperative that this board takes seriously the actions that Mr. Capone has imposed and I should say enacted within the school and within the community, and how he has treated their students, our staff, and our citizens who aren't students or staff. We're taxpayers, we're paying their salary. And this board is supposed to be doing due diligence. They're not supposed to be sitting in seats being told what to do by a superintendent who came into town and is now making $254,000 on a loophole that you used to get a tax rate, a tax increase of 4%, when you're supposed to go to voter approval for anything over 2%. There's a lot of people in this town that aren't happy about that, and frankly, I'm kind of glad you did it, because they're gonna come out and get rid of you.
That's right. You want him out? Say, go home, Capone.
Danielle Conklin, 68 Clove Road, Montague PTA.
Dana Berry, 26 Durrell Drive, here for the PTA as well.
May we pass out some documents for you guys to view? Is that okay?
Can't
Are
wait to
those
find
available
out.
to the public?
I can make more, I only have a few.
Put them on the page? Your website?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can scan them if it gets approved. I have to wait for it to get approved.
On behalf of the Montague PTA Board, we would like to present a entrepreneurship. This is a kit that we purchased last year in the amount of $719. It was a one-time purchase, and this kit is a 6-week program.
Not many of you back at home. Good luck with
At the
that.
end of the workshops, we do a Treps Marketplace. So this is a chance for the kids to use their creativity. They create products and they get to sell them and actually hold the marketplace and launch their business. However, we feel that it would benefit the children a little bit more if the staff was the one that taught this program and held it for the students. I feel like, and we do as a board, that they're a little bit more accessible.
It's more time for the teachers to handle, as a lot, being that there's not many volunteers or from the PTA, it's easier for the teachers to handle. And also, this is a course for students from grades 4 to 8, and if they're interested in taking part of the trust, they would have to purchase $12, a workbook that would include all the business forms and any other forms needed to help them learn how to become an entrepreneur and build a company for them. So if a student was interested in doing the program, it would be a $12 expense to that child. But we need the PTA to purchase the whole kit on behalf of, for the, to present to the school. Handle taught by them. So that's what we'd like to ask the board tonight, if they would contact in their arms. Thank you.
Somebody asked for a copy of this?
Yeah, great. I think we're there.
Should we?
Yeah, I think that's approved.
I just wanted to follow up on the PTA. I don't think everyone can hear them, and I don't know if everyone knows what TREPS is. So I want to try and support them because I think it's a great idea for our kids. TREPS is a program that basically teaches kids how to create a product and sell it. And typically, the selling would happen at the school at a TREPS event. And one example might be the kids who save up those Voss water bottles, and then you do the glitter relaxation jars, and then they sell them. Some kids might make soap or lip gloss.
It has to be a
stress
board
balls,
member
right, all of those kinds
that
of
makes
things
the
that
motion.
kids love to get. And I think it's a great idea. I think that maybe we could think of a way to raise a little bit more money outside of it to try and help buy some of the supplies for kids who might be interested but might not be able to. And that could be as simple as writing like a donorschoose.org grant, and that could get us money to like fund the pool of kids who might be interested. So if you want some help with that, I would love to get involved.
I need you to hold this for me when I speak.
So,
Put your phone down.
I really,
Hold it on Capone's face.
yeah. I really want to come up too.
Just
Members of the board, you took an oath in which you promised to provide the students with the best learning environment you could afford. The person who you are relying on to get this done is not doing the job. In fact, he's putting the children in harm's way. There are incidents, and I mean plural incidents, in which he's involved directly or indirectly, assault charges, complaints of bullying, intimidation of parents, students, and teachers. Bullying and intimidation is not okay, and this is who we had in charge of our children, and we're trying to teach them not to bully and intimidate. But we have somebody in charge of them that are bullying and intimidating them, along with the parents, along with the teachers. Absurd. Absurd. Questionable activities performed in and out of school. Please, please, board members, remove this person so our community, not his, our community can start healing from the wounds of his presence. That's it.
Thank you.
Again, I'm Barbara, I'm back up there. Okay, there's one other thing that happened yesterday. When you, Mr. Capone, went back to the last meeting and you started calling out people's stuff. Is this still on?
No, it's not on. You just have to speak louder like I did.
Turn it on. It was on before.
Now it's on. Thank you. So, Mr. Mannion kind of hit on it, and I have to say I agree with him completely. It is a prime example of the bullying and intimidation that you do and have done on a regular basis when you called out Ms. Gangsa. If there's irreconcilable monies in the PTA needs to investigate them, not Mr. Capone, because you are not supposed to be having anything to do with the PTA. Okay? You could be a member, but you don't get to tell the PTA what to do.
But he
and
does.
If they had irreconcilable monies in their treasury, they should have done a formal process through the PTA governance and then called the police and had the police do an investigation, because there have been issues in other towns and ambulance departments and everything where people have had an issue. You took it upon yourself to publicly call out one of our townspeople, a parent in this school, and accuse her of stealing money in your statement.
Right.
Yeah, really. If I were her,
Slander.
I'd be handing right to a lawyer tomorrow.
Slander.
Because that was inappropriate.
It is what? Is it inaccurate?
No, it's
It's slander.
You're
It's
not-
defamation of character. It's slander.
You are not allowed to ask.
You're not-
judge and jury, Mr.
No, you're not a judge. You're not a cop.
Why wasn't it dealt with?
Was it
If it,
choked the kid?
yeah,
The
really.
other thing that you did was you also called out another member of the public and that Mr. Mannion referenced, and you decided to give a litany of whatever you allegedly Googled and found out. You're not
Whether it's
providing the public
true or
with any of
false.
that information, but you yourself get to sit up there on a pedestal that you've put yourself on and tell people
Take
what
it
you
down.
think, but no one is allowed just to have a second or an opinion about you or your behaviors or what you've done. Those pictures show it all. They show from the time you sat in the back of this room and got hired to the last 3 months.
Can I interject?
Calling out people.
Started this statement by saying that this was from the Montague Township School PTA Audit Committee. Okay? We have done an investigation, the audit committee has, and we have everything on record. So if anybody would like to see that.
But the point is, Jennifer
This is why
this is
PTA
a
should
board
be on the
meeting,
board.
not a PTA meeting, and you're not
Yes.
supposed to slander someone from the public not only that, in a board meeting, but you're certainly not supposed to slander them without giving them the ability to defend their case in a court of law. So if you have a court of law case, you need to file a complaint with the police. If you think you have enough information, then you need to go after the person that allegedly did something. But until they've been judged guilty in a court of law, you're slandering her.
Means nothing.
That's right. Good. Here. Hold that.
Oh, I want to come up too.
Should be a
You already know who I am at this point.
Shame to yourself.
Say it again.
Jamie Lamello, Montague, Spook Ridge Road. So, my question is, why is Timothy Capone still at the Montague School? Seriously. He was hired by the Board of Ed in spite of a checkered past. Controversy and toxicity seem to be synonymous with this person. Consider his work history. 1 year in Delaware, 1 year in Trenton, 1 year at Highland Park, 1 year at Lady Liberty Academy. At these locations, he created such controversy that he left these positions either willingly or was fired. Why? Why is he still here at the Montague School where he is creating and feeding chaos? Board of Ed, I urge you, it's time we remove Capone.
Somebody else, come
I'll
on.
entertain a motion to close public comment at 8:14.
Wait, somebody's. Wait, you got a hand up here. We're not done.
It's completely unethical.
Go ahead.
Mr. Krebs, sorry. I didn't see it.
Mark Krebs, Old Sydney Ridge Road. One thing I think that hasn't been touched on is the school is the center of the community. The community revolves around the school. If the school looks bad, the community looks bad. What's coming out is just terrible. I think a couple of months ago, when Paul was on the town committee, Mr. Capone said he'd be reporting to the town committee, even though he didn't have to do so as a courtesy, all the good things that were happening in the school. He was there once, never came back. How are we supposed to get the good stuff out if we don't have any, reports on what's going on? You know, I realize that it's a courtesy, and he doesn't have to do that, but he made that offer. And he never showed up again.
Well, just so you know, Mr. Krebs, as I'm sure you're familiar, Township Committee and the School Board of Ed met on the same night. So one of the things we've done this year is we've changed our meeting nights. So I would anticipate that after February, somebody from the board, whether it be myself, Mr. Capone, or otherwise, will very well see us more attention.
Right. Also, I think also it involves so people are looking forward to this town, and they're looking at all the things in town, the fire department, the road department, and they also look at the school. You know, what's going on with the school, if you're on the outside looking at what's going on, I wouldn't want to move to this town. You know, it's taxes are, we're losing people are moving out, and people aren't moving in because of this. And I think
Kids are leaving the school too.
It's affecting the whole community. Thanks.
Mr. Belsey, I'm so sorry. I did want to maybe bring a little bit of positivity to the floor tonight. I wanted to, I'm sorry, Stephanie Wida, 105 Autumn Drive. I wanted to comment and follow up on my first comment about the High Point music event. And I think it's a great example of what can happen sometimes when we come together as parents. It was a shame that it had to come to this point, but we did coordinate a small group of students who really did want to still participate in that wonderful event. We couldn't coordinate artwork because the art was here in the building, but we were able to get a group of kids, and we were able to get High Point. Actually, they were more than willing. They had their staff meet us on a separate day and do a separate rehearsal just for the kids from Montague. They also gave them a preview of the Wizard of Oz show during early stages of its rehearsal. And the looks on these girls' faces when they got to see these older kids doing their thing, and then they got to actually perform with all of the kids from around the district. It was amazing. It was a small group, but it was because we didn't have the school to help us coordinate. Jody Taylor couldn't even return my messages. I assume that she was instructed not to. I know that's an assumption, but she did reply to the original email from High Point and said thanks for the info. I did over those emails. I haven't received them from Montague yet. High Point turned them over immediately. I think my point is that there are good things happening here, but unfortunately, it's being overshadowed by not just rumors and innuendos and other things. There are real problems. And what you call mildew might be what's on the surface, but I heard that there's been a mold problem deep in this building for many, many decades. I'm not saying that you caused the mold problem.
But clean it
I know
up.
that you brought an agent in to do an architectural report. I think it was EI Associates who did that report. And I know the town fought
That's because she didn't steal
replacing the
anything.
roof. We do know there's a 12 by 12 section of the roof that is in danger of collapsing. And I think that the absolute worst thing that could happen next is for that roof to collapse while there are kids in this building.
He doesn't care.
While there are good things and it's not all bad, I think the things that need to be addressed really, truly need to be addressed. And I hope that perhaps with some new members on the board, we can try and see what can be improved upon. Thanks.
John Manning.
Last time, John?
Well, Mr. Plosky, you just said something which made me want to come up. And I hope, Mr.
Talk as
Plosky,
much-
that you do continue on with enlightening the public at the township committee meetings. But I hope you don't send somebody that is just there to feed us Kool-Aid, not be honest, not be representative, and just try to jelly-coat or sugarcoat something, when in reality, under the surface, things are quite sour. Thank you.
So good.
I will now entertain a motion to close public comment at 8:20. Motion by Mr. Tupin, second. Second by Mr. Griswold. Any discussion?
They know you had to
All
go
in
into the
favor?
school because of him.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
You can say it to everybody on Facebook.
I entertain a motion for block vote items A1 through A4. Motion by Mr. Tupper, second by Mr. Tupper. Any discussion items A1 through A4?
Now everybody, you need to share this video. It needs to go viral. Everybody needs to see it. Share, share, and share. As soon as
So we had
I'm
a
done.
donation
Share.
from this family that reached out.
The more that share, the better. So as soon as this meeting's over and this video is fully uploaded, I need all of you to share it.
I don't know that.
Okay, any other questions?
Tell me the car alarm.
Seeing none, roll call?
Yes.
You can see his smug, John. I can't zoom in, it's live. Mr. Underwood, he can't pick his head up the whole
Yes.
meeting. Still got his head down.
I would entertain. I would entertain a motion. Block vote items F1 through F6.
I don't know, but nobody's doing anything about it. Typical.